Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Speculation Station. I am your host, Captain Ketter. Coming to you again after a brief hiatus after Worlds. Each of us have been taking a nice break for various reasons. But the reason you haven't really heard from us is because I lost the recording for the last episode. So if you showed up live to our last episode, thank you. You had the pleasure and the experience of listening to that episode, and for the only time it will ever be heard. But this episode, we're going to recap essentially the same stuff we would have done during the last episode, which is talking about our experience at Worlds. So today, joining with me talking about it is Texas Honey Badger. Say hello.
Howdy.
As well as Bodie. Say hello, Bodie.
Hey, everyone. Hey, before we get started real fast, I want to make a quick shout out. At Worlds, we met Ryder Curry, Lego Brains, on the Discord, and apparently him and his kids listen to us. So quick shout out to Braden and Alyssa. Thanks for your support and enjoy your nap.
Well, if we're doing shout outs, I'll give a quick shout out to Christine, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, talking about Worlds, the first thing we have to talk about is our travel to Worlds. So, for myself, I flew into Chicago and then I took a train up from Chicago to Milwaukee, which was actually quite pleasant. This is the first time I've ever ridden a commercial train, and I would recommend it. It was pretty nice, and I didn't have to get a taxi anywhere or anything like that. So once you get out of the train station in Milwaukee, it ended up being just like maybe a 3-walk block to my hotel, and then my hotel was like a block away from the venue. So no vehicles were needed or required. Overall, very good experience. And during the train ride, I sat right next to a guy who was playing Star Wars Legion, so we got to talk about both of our armies for Legion, and then when he used to play Armada. So that was pretty cool. The other thing I want to add in about travel and flight inside the United States is that there's a lot of regional flights that you cannot find if you just plug in the major cities. And so on my way back, I was able to take a regional flight from Chicago to Dallas, and in total, the ticket cost me like I want to say like $130, and that got me 2 free check bags. And the one stop we made was a total of like maybe 15 to 20 minutes at a small airport somewhere, and then we just jetted on down to DFW. So if you are trying to find like a cheaper flight that's not Frontier or Spirit or one of these budget airlines, you can plug in like one stop usually in between where you're going and your destination. Sometimes that'll be a major hub, and that'll just be one of the major carriers. But if you go to regional airports in the United States and then see where those flights are going, you can pick one or find the airline, see where they're flying to and from, and then you can book your flights that way to try and figure out how to get there. But it's a little bit more work, but overall the experience was like very chill. And yeah, the 2 free check bags was pretty big, especially if you're going to go and buy stuff or take stuff with you to the event. So that was my travel experience. We're just going to go in a round robin here, just going through Worlds from day 0 to day 3. And so beginning with this topic, and then we'll just pass it around. So Texas Honey Badger, you want to talk about how your travel time was?
Yeah, my travel was super simple. One layover I think on the way there, it was Kansas City, and then flew into Milwaukee, and then took an Uber to the hotel. And actually, I did meet a girl. So I flew out of the Burbank airport, and which is a small, very, very small, like one terminal airport. And I met a girl who was wearing an Adepticon hoodie. And so we were just chatting. I was like, oh, I'm going to Adepticon too. Oh, cool, cool, whatever. So we didn't really talk again. And then during our layover, I just asked her, what are you doing at Adepticon, this and that. And she's really into like painting and stuff. And so that's what she was doing there. And then we boarded the plane, and then we got off the plane, and then we split an Uber to the convention. So that was kind of cool. You make friends along the way, kind of like your Legion guy. And then going back, same thing. I just Ubered to the airport and had a layover in St. Louis, and then flew back into Burbank. Hollywood is the airport. It was super simple.
Meanwhile, my travel and I guess lodging experience was all kinds of complicated. So I have a friend. He works. I'm in Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is right next to Walmart corporate, basically. And so one of my friends who works at corporate and drives down often from Minnesota scheduled his trip, and we carpooled up together and met up with his brother-in-law and like uncle-in-law. And then we made the rest of the trip with them. Then when I got there after the like little meetup event that we had that was set up by Rob, I went and stayed with some of the Atlanta folks. We had an Airbnb together that was like 10, 15 minutes out. And then on the way back, I came back with one of our locals, Social General Rob. And so I was just all over the place with all kinds of different groups of people. And I had a great time. It was super cool to just like move from, talking to some people who are relatively new to Armada to people who have been playing Armada and TO, the Atlanta crowd, and then, back to someone that I've been friends with now for a couple of years and just hanging out with all of the people that I met last year and all that good stuff. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's kind of our experience traveling to and from Worlds. Day 0. This was the prelim tournament. A lot of my responses throughout this, I don't really have much, honestly. And the reason is because I was working on a journal article that I submitted immediately after the not tournament, Worlds, like the whole Worlds. So if you saw me working on a laptop over by the judges table, that was me working on my academic career. So I didn't actually get to play too much, but I did have a great time walking around and talking to everybody and watching everybody play. So my day 0, I was actually chilling in the hotel, working, and then I went and tried out some of the good food locally. But Bodhi, why don't you tell us about your day 0 first?
Sure. So I played in the prep event. I ended up bringing 4 fleets. I couldn't really decide what I wanted to play. I had like an Akbar MC30 list. I had a couple of different variations on Radis, and then I had an Agate Gallant Haven fleet. And so I decided, it probably wouldn't be very smart to drop into Worlds proper with a list that I had not played. So for the prep event, I decided to just get that out of my system. And so that was a Radis with the Liberty Von Karen drop. And I ended up doing okay with it. I went 4-0, but I had a lot of 6s and won 7. I played against only Rebels, which it was a theme for most of the event. My first round was against Matt Paolo. He was playing like this interesting Leia fleet with a couple of hammerheads, and MC-80 assault cruiser and a Pelta, and it was just kind of like like this mid-range kind of fleet. And it's been a while now. I don't remember much of the objectives or how it ended up going. I remember that we had a pretty big brawl with our MC-80s, and then his hammerheads died because that's what hammerheads do. And then I couldn't quite finish off his MC80, but he was able to drop mine on round 5 or 6. And so it was a 6 for me. Then I went and played Aaron, and Aaron had a Maydeen fleet that was an MC80 battle cruiser and an MC80 assault cruiser. And so he was kind of doing like this home one combo with QTC. It was pretty cool. It put a lot of pressure on my big ship that didn't really have much defensive tech. And because he didn't really have smalls to snipe that the MC80 that I built it was kind of designed to do. Again, we had like this big brawl right on top of the station. And I ended up eking out a 7 with that one. Round 3, I played against Jacek, one of the Polish guys who made top 8 in the end. And we actually played the first round of day 2 in 2024 Worlds. And he just totally whooped me. It was like an 8-3 for him. And so I managed to pull out a 6 against him. And I feel very good about that. He's the best squadron player that I've ever played against. Like a combination of just like how he measures and then the things that he's able to eyeball and just the way that he activates things. Like he has it so well practiced. And it's really fun to just watch him go. He'll have one tool in his mouth and then like one tool in each hand. And he'll just be like trying to measure them without 2 tooling. It's so fun. But we had a really good time, and it was super close. And then my last round was against Ian Galerius on the Discord, and we were both Radis. And so the interesting thing about that is you want to be second player, so that the first player will drop their Radis ship, and then you have perfect information on where to go. And so we were both pretty tired and ready to just kind of like relax and get ready for Worlds proper. So we, without any collusion, I promise, just calculated what the score probably would have looked like. And so we just ran the math real fast, and I would have decided, because he had the bid, he would have given me first. I would have decided not to drop in order to protect my stuff. Because the second I drop, I would lose. And so we would have just had like a little bit of a squadron battle. He would have flaked some stuff. Probably some flotillas died. And so the way that we calculated it out was 220 for me and 219 for him, which was just perfect that it worked out that way. But we had a great chat just about how Armada works. He gave me some Jaffa cakes. And yeah, I ended up at 18th overall, which I didn't really have a goal going into it, but I'm pretty happy with it. I didn't lose a game, and it was a really fun time.
Nice. Glad you had fun. Honey Badger, tell me about your day 0.
Nothing significant to report.
That's what I thought.
All right, so I played double ISD with a couple of Gazantes, and I'd never really played this list before. I've played against Jay Palmani as double ISDs a couple of times, and this is, it's a variation of that. It's 2 ISDs, 2 ISDs 2s, and 2 Gazantes. But the lists are pretty different, as different as they probably could be in those parameters. But they had early warning systems, EST. I was running Chimera and Sovereign. My Gazanis had Phylons, so I was using those to slow down enemy smalls, like a Rebel MSU or whatever I may come against. First round, I played against Christian Garcia. He had a Providence Rebel bomber list. I chose his precision strike because I figured I could mitigate his bombers with my EWS. Um, so he kind of deployed away from me, and I had to fight through the rest of his list uh, in order to get to him. He had a Nebulon and a Gazanti, or a GR-75, and then a 134 bomber ball. Um, he swung the Providence out wide, and then I was able to kill the Nebulon pretty easily. And then, thanks to Jerry, I was able to turn around and catch him and last first him and take out the Providence. So that was the table. He scored 60 points of the objectives. I scored 15 as I was shooting his Providence running away. And so, yeah, that was a 10-1. My next game was against Eric Pearson. He had a 10 in the first round also. He had two Munis and a Providence and four Vultures. And I think he chose to go, yeah, he chose to go first, and he picked my contested outpost. And then he tried to bully me off the station, and it just didn't work. So I did end up losing one of my ISDs, and he got the station. No, I'm sorry. We played his contested outpost, and uh, I actually flipped it on him, and I scored 5 rounds of the station, and he got one. And he killed an ISD, and I killed all of his ships and tabled them. So that was 500 to 169. And then I played Mac, large package. He got 2 10s also, and so we were paired. And he had his 2-ship thing that he's been playing for a while. He chose to go second. I chose his fire lanes, and I scored 625 points. So I scored 225 points worth of fire lanes. He killed one of my Gazantes, and I think scored um, 3 tokens off the fire lanes. Uh, yeah, so he killed my cheaper Gazani and scored 3 fire lane tokens for 79 points. So that was another big 10-1. And then I was sitting at 30 TP against, paired up against Andy Armbruster, and he was at 27, 26 TP. So he needed an 8 to beat me, to jump over me and win. And unfortunately, he played for the 6. He chose to go first, chose my advanced gunnery, and then he just tried to snipe a flotilla with his rogues. And then he wasn't able to do that. So I won that game 16-0 for a 6. He just corner deployed and ran the rest of his fleet away, just sending his rogues after me, and I didn't really chase him because part of me thought, well, what's the difference between second place and fifth place? He's going to play for the win. He's going to try and win the tournament, but he did not try to win the tournament. So that was that. We actually played a rematch last night where he's like, okay, I'm going to see if I can beat that list. He was flying his MC80 Mon Karen. It's what he's been playing for a while. And he said, all right, I'm going to take your advanced gunnery, and then we're actually going to try and fight. And I beat him. I think it was a 10. So if he would have done that in the tournament, I could have had a perfect 40. But oh well. So I won the prep event with 36 TP. It was 3 10s and a 6.
Nice. All right. From there, we went around and found some food after day 0. One note about the food in the area: they didn't know there was a convention coming to Milwaukee, so a lot of these restaurants had excellent food, but would close at like 8:30 or 9 p.m. because they weren't expecting to have a huge crowd in the downtown area. So I have been told that they have made a note that the convention will come back next year, and they'll stay open later for these people because uh, some places were selling out of food, and then other places closed early and didn't expect so many people knocking on the door and whatnot. So yeah, food in the area is nice. Going into day 1, I actually did bring a list and I played this day. So I'll talk briefly about my experience. Um, it was a good time. I did not play super well, but I think it's because I didn't have enough practice. So word to the wise and the unwise out there, you should probably get your practice games in with the list you're going to take prior to Worlds if you want to perform well. So um, I took a Kirsta Profundity with a ended up being a girl's honor drop, but I think I'm solidly in the camp that that Overload Pulse or 90B drops are much better because you can just eliminate PDICs by dropping at medium range. But it worked really effectively in my first game. I kind of feel like I gave myself a loss. There was on the last turn of the game, I needed to like flip over my dial for my TRC 90 to take a shot that was in range 4, and I hadn't been paying attention to the time prior to this, like not up to this point, but up to the 30-minute warning, and that kind of I think it was both me and my opponent didn't keep track of the time well enough. Well, I guess so. But that ended up being a 7-4 when I think it would have gone 7-4 the other way if I would have killed his ISD with his commander on it. So yeah, that felt bad. And then next game I think I played Reese in my second game. Yeah, so I played Reese from the area. He was playing his Piet list. That was a lot of fun. Shout out to Reese and his dad, Rob, who they reserved the time and spot at the for the welcome party at Major G something. Can't remember the name of the bar, but it's right across the street from the venue. And they created a place for everybody to come and meet up, chat, and talk about Armada the day before the event. So that was a good time.
I don't mean to interrupt, but it was Major Goolsby's, and you're thinking about
Yes.
Royce.
I said Royce, right? I just said
You
Reese.
said Reese.
My bad. Sorry, Royce. Yeah, so we had a really fun game actually. What happened was I picked his, I think it was Ion Storm. He set up all of his obstacles on his side next to him in a line from left to right at about distance 5 out. And so what I did was I came in from the side, and then he had already hopped over his obstacles on one side. And then so after he selected a side to go down, I waited for his gladiator in the back to pick a side. And so when it did, I decided to send my ships off the other direction. And my plan was just to kill squadrons and leave and get out with a 6 or 7. And that almost happened. Except in the last part of the game, his Merrick Steel came in and shot my unshielded side and putting enough damage on me that when his ISD activated, it was enough to kill my ship with the +1 ramp damage. So that felt a little bad as well. But I think overall I had a good time. The rest of my games weren't very like it didn't really matter. I wasn't going to make it to day 2. So just kind of chilled the rest of the day and played Armada. But overall I had a good time. Bodhi, how's your day 1?
All right, I'm getting dinner finished. So my day 1 was the most exciting tournament that I've ever played in. I played against 3 Akbar fleets when I was playing Akbar myself. So yes, I am part of the problem. I've been reminded of that. But man, it is so hard to score big when your opponent is also Akbar. My first round was against Scott. He's one of the guys from Australia. I met him at the pre-party, and so when we sat down to play, like we were a little familiar with each other, which was nice. Like I like being able to kind of talk to you as a friend rather than a complete stranger, especially when it's the first round of a tournament. And so I guess I should start off. The list that I decided on was my Akbar double MC30s. So it's 2 scout frigates, and I had a Jaina's Light floating around, a flotilla, and then I had a light screen that was Shara Tycho and a couple of Zs. So my game against Scott, he was flying a double pickle version of Akbar, which sounds a little bit jank, but he flew it really well. He actually ended up making day 2 with it. The problem that he presented to me was if I were to try and sit one of my 30s in the front of one of his MC80s, which you would ideally want to do, then it would be in the side of the other, and he just had, I believe he had XI7s, and it was just, yeah, he had XI7s on both Home 1 and Defiance, so it was just going to be way too many dice, and I did not think that I could tank a whole round of that. So we played a little bit cagey, which is fine for round 1, I feel like. I ended up scraping out the 6 just barely. I took out one of his squadrons, and he took out a couple of mine, and then I think all the flotillas died. So I had 54 MOV to his 44, and when I was sitting down after that game looking at other people in my TP bracket, there were some names that I really did not want to fly against. And the one that stood out to me was Jason Diedrich, who, if you don't know, is one of, if not the single best MSU player of all time. And so when they announced round 2 and I boot up the T4, and there it is. That's the one name I didn't want to see. And so he was flying his classic Easter fleet, which is it's like 5 or 6 CR90s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 CR90s, and then a scout frigate, MC30 for his flagship, and then just his UR75 with slicer tools. I knew not to. I had the bid just barely, and I knew not to give him second player because his objectives are disgusting. And if you ever play against him, never pick his hyperspace migration. So many people do that, and it basically just ruins him. So I took second. He picked my capture the VIP, and I deployed a bit cagey. I kind of figured that we would both just try and go for the 6, but the way that I set myself up for deployment, I guess it gave away that I was going to be cagey a bit too early, which gave him an opening to kind of lay this trap for me, which I had no choice but to fly into. And when I did, he was able to pick off a couple of shields on my flagship, and then he sent his MC30 in and ended up one-shotting mine from, I think it had 2 shields gone off the front, and he dropped it from there with 1 activation. And from there, it was just all downhill. I was able to kill one of his CR90s, but I didn't have the firepower to clear an escape vector, and it was just rough. My squadrons were too far away to activate, and he ended up tabling me and getting the capture of the VIP token, and there was nothing I could do. I was just watching as everything went to crap. But we had a good time, and we talked about it afterwards, and I feel like I learned a lot, which is one of the things that I really enjoy about playing Worlds. I feel like I'm in the middle tier of players, and when I get my ass handed to me by someone like Jason Diedrich, I learn from that, and I feel like now I'm able to at least not make the same mistakes, but or maybe try and get a future opponent, to make those mistakes. But anyway, I was thinking about it at lunch that day, and the only chance for me to really make it into day 2 was if I got 2 9s or a 10 and an 8. And I was down in the bottom tables, and I got paired against Greg. He's actually sort of close to me. He lives in Kansas City, I believe, which is a couple hours away, but it's local enough for our small game that I got his contact information and invited him to our local events. But he was playing a CIS list with Martuk and Patriot Fist. It was his first real tournament, and so we kind of talked about some of the mistakes that he made, and I let him, I don't know, I tried to be more casual with it because I didn't feel like there was much of a chance of me getting in anyway. But I ended up tabling him because MC30s do a lot of damage, especially when you don't have a defensive retrofit. And I think I got 12 damage on my shot against his Recusant. It was definitely a high roll, but with my 10 there, I was feeling okay. I was like, I need to get an 8, but I was going to shoot for a 9. I felt like I had a decent chance of doing that because my fleet, it has firepower. But I got paired against Ryder Curry. And he was also Akbar, and despite what he was saying about not knowing how to fly it and being a new player, he did all of the right things. We were an hour in, and it was mid round 2, because we were both in the think tank so much about our early maneuvers. Our last 3 rounds went by in less than 15 minutes because we passed each other by that point. But the most impactful thing that happened in that game was his MC30 just barely landing on a rock. And I don't remember exactly what crit it was. Actually, no, I took a picture of it. He got injured crew, which caused him to lose one of his redirects. And then I was able to accuracy the other one and blow up his MC30 on the following turn. But that's about all that died. I think both of our CR90s dropped and a couple of squadrons. It was definitely a close game. I ended up eking out a 7 by 1 Z95 worth. So, realistically, it probably should have been a 6. But regardless, it was super tense, and for the last round of the day, it was an exciting kind of cagey match. Unfortunately, it was not enough to get me into day 2. I ended at 55th when the cutoff was 49 because someone dropped. So it was in shooting distance. One more TP would have put me at least in contention. But I've set the goal for next year. I'm going to try and improve. And I definitely had some good games and some good learning experiences too.
Awesome. All right. So that leads us into day 2. So day 2 experience, I think that was when Sector Fleet happened. Is that correct?
Yeah, just my day 1 experience. That's fine.
Wait. Oh. See, Bodie, you took so long. I thought that Texas Honey Badger had already gone. All right. Yeah. Drew, tell us about your day 1 experience.
Well, after my horrible performance in the day 0 event, I decided I would switch up my fleet because the 2 ISDs just weren't working for me. So I went to a Kraken LMSU Separatist fleet with a Providence, 2 hard cells with TRCs, and 2 Gazantes with HIEs. And let me tell you, a Gazanti doing 6 damage to you in 1 activation is pretty freaking cool. It did not go well for me. I played Joseph Morton the first round, and he had a list that I'd played before. Juan in the Houston area played this against me in the Texas Championship a couple years ago. It's a Providence with 2 Recusants, TF list, and I saw that line up against the table, and I was like, man, I wish I would have brought double ISDs. I just think that would have been a better matchup. Or, man, I wish I would have brought Pizza Party because I already know how that's going to go. But I was able to eke out a win. It was an 8 in my favor. We played, I believe he chose first and chose my contested outpost and then bum rushed me. And then I got paired up against Christopher Fritz, Truthiness, and I mean, that was probably one of the worst games I've ever played. And if you play poorly against Truthiness, you're going to have a bad time because he's a really, really good player. So I had a plan of he was flying Separatist also. He was flying a Recusant with 2 hard cells and then a 134 with Hyenas and DFS and Watt. So my plan was to just kill his 2 hard cells and then, kill as many squadrons along the way as I could. And I was able to tear up his squad ball pretty easily, but those hard cells were slippery, and he put that Recusant in Providence range, and I was like, ooh, I can go after that. But yeah, mistakes were made, and then everything just fell to crap very quickly. So I ended up getting a 2. Then I played against Matthew Schluter, who was running a Bale list with a Venator, an Acclimator, and a Consular, and a 110 squad ball with Ahsoka, Axe, Anakin, Kickback, and 2 Arcs. Actually, this is not correct. The T4 is not correct. He was running, he did not have Ahsoka. I think he had Lumi, and he had more Arcs than that, so maybe drop Kickback. But we played, I think his... no, I can't remember what objective we played, but oh well. So he kind of swung the Acclimator out wide. He brought the Consular in, and I should have killed the Consular when I had the chance to kill it, but I was too focused on killing the Venator, and the Venator just kind of melted to the Providence with all that support. And so I killed the Venator, then I killed the Acclimator, and his Consular just ran away on like 1 health. Otherwise, it would have been a table, and I would have gotten, I think, a 9, but as is, I got a 7. And then I played Matthew Stobner, so 2 Matt S's back to back, and he was playing double ISD. So he had double ISD with Jerry, extra shield tag, boarding troopers, the whole 9, and he just rolled over me. He got an 8, so I got 3. It was 243 to 420. And so, I mean, it's easy to say this from 96th place, but I think even if I would have made day 2, I probably would have dropped because on day 2 is when we were having the sector fleet, and that is absolutely my jam. So I'm just going to go right on into day 2 and talk about my sector fleet matches, which I played Deep Dish Pizza Party. It's 3 Venators, and I think I had 5 or 6 victories, and they all have Svats, and it's just a mean, nasty list. I played 2 rounds, and both rounds combined, I lost 1 victory, and I tabled my opponent in both rounds. So I ended up winning the Sector Fleet game with 20 TP, and I think the next highest had like 16 or something. But it was a lot of fun. I love Sector Fleet. I love Pizza Party. I love monster trucks, and so it was all of the things that I love combined into one. And that was my day 2.
All right, Bodie, tell me about your day 2.
All right, so by day 2, I was pretty done with Rebels. Played him for 2 days straight. That's all I'd been practicing. I was done. And so I asked one of the people that I was on the team tournament with if I could borrow his team list for any 400-point pickup games. So it's this Luminara like tank list, no squadrons, and you just send Mercy Mission and maybe play Blockade Run. And it seemed more enjoyable than kind of the same thing that I've been doing. So I got that, and I get there, and everyone's like, "Are you doing Sector Fleet or Task Force?" Because usually Task Force happens day 1. That's the 200-point format. And Sector Fleet will be on day 2 for everyone who doesn't make the cut, because that's kind of the more preferred format. I did not have the stuff to make Sector Fleet work, but my buddy Andy Arkwelder was like, "Hey, I've got all my stuff in my car. Here's my keys. Go see what you can find." And what I found is a complete mess. And so I want to publicly flame Andy for the most disgusting Armada collection that I've ever seen. His stuff is just loose in totes, like bases floating around in there, loose squadrons not even on their pegs, and there's no cards in sight. So I'm like, I can't do anything with this. And I go back in 7 minutes until I have to make a decision. And one of my friends is like, "Hey, actually Matt Stogner, which, by the way, congratulations to him. He just won the last official AMG event, the Richmond, or in the United States, the Richmond GT." But anyway, so he was like, "Hey, I'm going to go hang out with my wife. Here's my Task Force ticket. Have fun." And so I find out that I'm playing it like 7 minutes before it starts. And all I have is this Lumi list. And so I break it down. I end up playing the Vic and the Clam. And all I've got are the upgrades that are on me. So even though you don't need a commander in Task Force, I end up having Lumi there because that's the only way that I can make the upgrades fit without having like an absurd 30-point bid or something like that. But it turns out that having 2 Command 3 mediums in Task Force and just playing Contested Outpost is really good. My first round, and I apologize, I don't have any of the names because these were done on Excel, not T4. But my first round was against this ISD and a Gazanti, and that was the only one where I was first player, but we played his Contested Outpost, and we just had this brawl. I lost one of my ships, but I tabled him and got some Kano points. My second round was against someone who didn't realize at first that you could farm off of volatile deposits. And so my score from that would have been pretty absurd, but we ended up playing it back afterward. And we played Kano instead. But me farming points forced him to play really aggressively, and the only things that he had keeping him on the board were a Gladiator and a Raider. And he tried to get in close, and with the 3 foot by 3 foot board size, like his stuff just dropped way too fast. His spots are really good with the limited space. Then my final round was against one of the Polish guys. I believe it was Jakub Charmo, who played tag in the main event. So, hell yeah. I wish that I had balls as big as his. But he was playing a Ven with like 7 squadrons, and I had those squadrons. And so he picked my Kano, and we just had this brawl. And I had some of the best rolls that I've ever seen in my life, which resulted in his Ven dying probably a round before it should have. He should have been able to get one more activation out of it and melt one of my ships with squadrons. But because I was able to drop it a turn early, I got the 10. And so I think I was at 38 or 28 tournament points after the 3 rounds. And I ended up taking home the Task Force World Champion title. And honestly, like I had never played Task Force before other than like teaching games when I'm getting people into Armada. But it was kind of fun. Like it was, my first round was like 23 minutes. My second round was like 27, and my third round, which had the most thinking and the most squadrons, was just slightly above 30 minutes. And we finished the whole tournament in half a day. It was great. So day 2 was a huge success, and that's about it for me.
All right, that'll put us off into day 3. What took place on day 3? Let's see. There was the finals, and then what else was happening for everyone else?
The team
That was the
tournament.
team's tournament.
Right. Okay, so what did you guys do that day? Badger, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I got recruited to play in a team with Ryan and I'm blanking on the other guy's name. I'm trying to remember it. And Hiroki. Sorry if I butchered that. Ryan on the Discord is GTO Rhino, and Hiroki is Fixed to be Broken. And then we needed a fourth. We recruited Josh, Captain Ketter, for a little bit, and he's like, "Nah, I'm not gonna play." So we filled him in with
the reason. The reason is because
we don't need your excuses. Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. All right.
I have too much anxiety about my work. That's what it is.
All right. So he's a workaholic. He's an overachiever. He doesn't just use ChatGPT like everyone else in the world does. Anyway, so we recruited Admiral Android, Andy Armbruster, and that was our 4-man team. And our first match, I really can't remember the scores, and I don't have a T4 here to remind me because they did it on some janky Excel spreadsheet. But I was playing Plo, which is so much fun. And my first match, I believe I played against a Rebel list, and I tabled them, got the 400, or got the 10, and then I think that was more than half of our team's points. I think everyone else combined for like a 9, like a 6, a 2, and a 1. So then we went into the next round, and I played Lewis. Maybe I played Lewis first. He was running, I think, an Ozil list with some defenders. Oh, Lark, friend of the podcast on the Discord, Lark. He was running an Ozil list with some defenders, Jendon, Vader, and Steel. I ended up killing his squad ball pretty easily. He alphaed Axe with I think 3 TIE defenders and Vader, and left Axe on 1 hole. And that's with flight controllers. It was absolutely nuts because I also had Implacable. So that's what really saved Axe there at the end. And then my squad ball just kind of tore us up, and then I killed his ISD. And he had a Architans. I think I was able to kill the Architans, but the Architans might have survived, so it might not have been a table. And then my last game I played against one of my good friends, Mike, ATX Mike on the Discord. He's from Austin. And he picked first player, and he picked my Rift Assault or Rift Ambush, whichever one lets you put the Rift in the, or you have to put the Rift in the middle, and then you deploy all the obstacles, and you get extra clicks if you're second, and then first player just flies straight. So he picked that, and then I deployed, and he deployed, and then he just ran. And speed 2 Peltas and speed 2 Arcs can't really chase anything down. So it was a 6-5, 0 MOV. But he said he was just tired and didn't really want to play, which is fine. I mean, you can do that. So that was the teams tournament.
Bo, did you play in teams tournament?
I sure did, and it was incredible. So in 2024 Worlds, I joined a team. I was recruited on Discord before the event, and so it was myself, Matt Stobner, and then 2 of the Atlanta guys, the father and son duo of everyone's dreams, Zog and Laugh Fuzzball. And Matt Stobner is Danger Panda on Discord. And so we naturally had to come back for round 2 this year. And we decided on the list composition beforehand. So I was originally going to play some form of Radis. And then we were going to have Zog's, Andrew Pryor's famous Quad Pelta that he won the... He took to Worlds both this year and last year and ended up winning the last chance qualifier with last year. And then Justin was going to play the Lumi Tanks list. And then Matt was going to play like an Imperial Squadron fleet. He decided to bring Piet. And because I was so tired of playing Rebels, I ended up switching, and I played the Quad Pelta fleet, and Andrew brought the Radis. I don't remember a whole lot about our first round, but they were all relatively new. I believe Matt was the only one of us that dropped a game, and the rest of us got pretty high scoring wins. And again, I apologize, I don't remember any of the names, but our second round, we played against the team that was half of last year's World's top 8. So that was Mac, Chris, Andy, and I don't remember who the last one in their team was. But anyway, so we got crushed. I played a Republic Squadron mirror match with Andy, and I think it ended up being a 7 for him, but it was just barely. No, it was a 6. Because we like called it on the first round. We were like, there's no way that this is more than a 6, and everything played out to our expectations. There was a slight chance where if he had landed on an obstacle, it would have been a face-down card that I could flip, or a face-up card that I could flip with Precision Strike. Because we ended up counting back the damage cards and seeing. So it would have been a 7 for me, but his shield dial was just barely off. And we had a huge squadron battle. He killed one of my Peltas, and that was about it. And then the last round, again, I don't remember any names, but I played against it was a Rebel Providence and a smattering of CR90s. I believe it's similar to Rob's Gen Con list, that it's just kind of like a aggressive get in your face with the Prov and then kite with the CR90s. He didn't have a whole lot of squadrons. I think it was just Shara Tycho. So I dismantled those pretty easily. And we had a super tight game. My last Pelta ended up surviving on 1 health with no shields and no defense tokens. And I tabled him on the last shot. And I rolled the dice the second that they were like, over the intercom, Adepticon is now closed. So it was honestly just the perfect ending to everything. Just in time for the convention hall to be closed, and I couldn't go spend my money on games that I don't need, which was great because I was totally thinking about dropping a lot of money for a new game. But all in all, it was a great experience. I played some bad games, and I played some really good games. But I don't know. I think that while my performance in 2024 Worlds was definitely better, making it to 17th, getting the experience of playing in the casual sector or the task force, and just hanging out with a whole bunch of new people was honestly amazing. And I can't wait for next year.
Awesome. All right. So we previously had Jason Hewley on, or Jason J. Palmeni, also Jason Hewley. We had him first. Unlike that means we're the best podcast, right?
Yes, and the these new structural damage fools only had him for 1 hour, where we had about a 2-hour podcast. So we got JPal more. You're listening to the premier Armada podcast right here.
I'm not one for titles, honestly.
No, you have to accept it.
All right. Well, the last thing we have to talk about is the after party, which was hosted at the hotel next door to the venue, which was also attached to the venue. There's a bridge joining the two. So if there is any bad weather, the people who were staying at that hotel could have just walked across the street through the bridge. A nice little anecdote if you're looking for a place and want to stay out of the weather. But the after party was a great event. I don't remember who decided to put it on.
I believe it was Mac. There was a lot of confusion because I believe there was going to be 2 after parties at one point, and then it ended up combining. I don't know, but it was probably Mac.
Yeah, so it was a BYOB event, and people ended up bringing a lot of board games, and I would say, probably 70% of people were just sitting around chatting, drinking, having a beer, and enjoying each other's company, and then there was people playing board games, and then there was Star Wars Armada Codenames, which was invented and debuted at this event, and it was a great time. Yes, let's see. Bodie, what did you think about the after party?
It was fantastic. I mean, it was not really the last goodbye, but everyone kind of just celebrating the life of the game, and most of them were drunk. We ended up inventing Armada Codenames, which was a blast, a huge hit. So if you weren't there, ask someone on the Discord about that, because I think we have the rule set typed up now, and it's a great amount of fun for a group of 6 to 8 players. I know it was kind of somber, but it was also exciting, and we talked about plans for the following year. I haven't really looked much into the legacy stuff because I wanted to focus on the official AMG rules for the last Worlds. But I talked to Dodie there. We're going to try and get him on soon. A bit of a spoiler, but I looked at the legacy cards that he had printed out. I don't know, it was super fun. Got to say some goodbyes, and
Yeah, it was a really good time. I got to meet a lot of people I've seen on the Discord, and then everybody was really friendly. Had a lot of really good conversations. What about you, Badger? You went to You were at the party as well. How did you like it?
I think I was the party. Let's just set the record straight. No, I'm just kidding. It was fun. Yeah, lots of camaraderie and beverages and uh, talking with people that you either just met or you live on the other side of the world from. Like I talked to Black Admiral from Poland. Talked to it was the first time I ever met Armchair Jedi, and so that was cool. Some other people from Canada, and I didn't choose to partake in any of the games or any of the riffraff that was going on. I was just there for the sitting around the table and drinking and laughing and telling stories and having fun. Um, but yeah, it was great. And then uh, just kind of migrating around. At one point, we talked, or I talked to some of the legacy people for a little bit, just about different content and everything. And I'm sure we'll go more into detail whenever we have those people on. Um, but yeah, it was great. And I left and started walking back to my hotel room. This is a little funny story I'll tell real quick. And I wanted something to eat, and there was that diner that was kind of there that everyone said stay away from, and the um, ratings were terrible. And after you've been consuming adult beverages for hours and hours, your standards are very low. So that's why Taco Bell line at 3 in the morning in any college town is always very long. But so I went in there, and then they said it was like to go only, and I was like, all right, that's all the convincing I need to not eat here. So I went next door because it was like I could hear music, and I didn't know what was there, and I just poked my head in, and then like there's three guys in suits standing there. And they're like, "Oh, can we help you?" And it ended up being a strip club. So I was like, "Oh, what time do y'all close?" And they're like, "Oh, 3 o'clock." I was like, "All right, thanks." And I just walked out and walked back to the hotel. I was like, "All right, I'm not pushing my luck anymore this evening. I'll just go back to the hotel and go to sleep and eat some breakfast." But that was funny.
We are now a PG-13 podcast. Well, we all had a good time. We hope to see you guys again at the next Worlds. We do not know currently what is in store, but the Texas Open Series is still continuing. If you want competitive Armada if you're located anywhere in North America, you can easily get a flight into Dallas or San Antonio or Houston or Austin. And yeah, come check us out. Come to LSO, the Lone Star Open. That's going to be hosted in mid-August, I believe, here in Dallas.
Who's judging that?
Actually, not me. I will not be there. I
Oh,
was judging it, but I had an opportunity to come up where I can go do some like medical work and a missions project in another country. So I accepted that offer, and I think that's Armada is important to me. But the opportunity to go and help people is also really important to me. So I'm gonna take advantage of my opportunity to go do that.
well, that's exciting. I would almost definitely be at LSO. I haven't quite booked in yet, but if you want a chance to meet the coolest member of this podcast, but I guess I'm the only one who's going to be there.
Yeah, that could be. I guess Honey Badgers TBD.
Honey Badger is going to be Daddy Badger at that point, and it's not TBD. It is a pretty hard no. So, yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to that either way, for you and for us to have Armada. Um, yeah, TXO is coming up May 24th in San Antonio. Are there any other tournaments we should plug? I think there's one happening in Norman.
There is, yeah. It's the last week of June, the 28th and the 29th. It's going to be 5 rounds over those 2 days. Norman, Oklahoma. Um, if you're in any of the Discords, and it'll be in the tournament chat, like the tournament subthread or whatever. Or you can just at me or something, and I'll get you the information of that. I think you'll be at that too, right, Josh?
The 28th. That is a maybe.
Okay. Well,
likely, I think.
I'll definitely be at that one, so we'll then aka downsize it, and should be a good time.
Awesome. All right. Well, we do not have an elevation for you guys today. You should be looking forward to more exciting content from the Speculation Station crew here in the future. If you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe on YouTube. You can share us. I don't really post to Facebook, but if anybody wants to post our podcast out to Facebook or other places where you might think people would benefit from hearing about Armada, go ahead and give it a shot. You can also follow us on Spotify, and for Mr. Icebecker, I am going to start working on getting the podcast out on Apple Podcasts. So thank you, everyone who's listening, and thank you for sticking with us. I hope you guys have a good day, and keep playing Armada.
Bye.